welcome back. Our next guest has a favorite saying: couples who hang wallpaper together don't stay couples very long. He says, however, when it comes to stripping wallpaper, it's a different story altogether. Here from HouseNet.com, a website for homeowners and do-it-yourselfers, is Gene Hamilton. Welcome, Gene.
Nice to be here.
And of course, you've been stripping with your wife, Katie, for years.
That's right, yeah. And that keeps us together.
Right,
you know, so
I can understand that.
Yeah. Well, you know, this is one of these projects that really homeowners really can't afford not to do. And you know, it's really sometimes hard to find somebody to come in and to strip it because painters really don't want to do it. It's not hard, but it's kind of messy and it can take a while. But we've got some great tips to make it easier here.
But it's important because if you want to strip the wallpaper and then paint, you've got to make sure you get all that stuff off.
Oh, absolutely. And don't paint the wallpaper. We have spent probably years and years and years removing painted wallpaper. If you paint it, the moisture can't get behind it. It's awful.
Yeah.
But let me show you here.
All right.
Here's an example of some different types of wallpaper. Now this paper has a finish on it, and the real challenge here in removing it is to get the moisture behind the paper. All right. Now we've got a couple of strategies to do that because the paste is water soluble, and until the water gets to the paste, you're not going anyplace. Okay? So really what we want to do is score it. And we've got a neat little gadget here that has little spurs on it.
Yes.
And this is going to run around on the paper and make little holes in order for you to get it.
Oh, how easy.
Right.
And this is pretty inexpensive, isn't it?
Very inexpensive. You know, but I got ahead of myself here. Before we do this, why don't we prepare the floor?
All right.
Now, what we got is some drop cloths here that we're going to tape to the baseboard.
Okay.
Okay, now I'll show you how it works here. Is you just tape it along the baseboard and then it folds out, the plastic folds out into the room and it protects the floor.
Very good.
So
you
while
do
you're
that that's your first step.
Exactly, that's the first step. But you still want to score here. You still want to use this little gadget, okay? So we're going to go back to the wall here and we're going to run it around and you can see it makes little holes. And this is the fun part.
I think it's also just it's a great stress reliever too.
Oh, it is, okay. Now I'm going to score this area here. Now what you want to do is if you have drywall, you don't want to push too hard on it, okay? Because you could put little holes in the drywall, and you don't want that. Right. If it's plaster walls, you've got an older house, let's say 30 or 40 years old, then you can really go at it, okay? Now we've made holes so that the moisture can get back in there. Now there's a couple of other things we want to do is we got to get the moisture onto the wall. Okay. Now what you can use is just a regular water and a paint, you know, roller here. But to make the water a little more effective, you can add a wallpaper remover. Okay, and this is just a little solution. It has some enzyme in it, and it'll attack the glue. Okay,
so if you use the roller, you want a bucket of water to which you might add this remover.
Exactly, a couple of capsules are according to the directions. You can also use a little bit of detergent or water softener. You know, you can do it yourself too. But the thing what we want to do is get the water to the job here. So I'm going to use a roller here. Now there's all kinds of gadgets that you can use. You could use a mop. You could use a garden sprayer.
Anything you can put to get the water on the wallpaper.
Now,
after you've scored it.
After you've scored it. Now, what we're going to do is violate the absolute most primary rule of wallpaper is that we're pushing it. You want to let the water soak in there. So what I do here is go here and I go watch television for 20 minutes because you want to let it to soak in.
And you want the water to do the work for you.
Exactly. You don't want to do it. But we're pushing it here. Okay. Now, another strategy to get the water behind there would be the steamer. Okay. Now, this is an inexpensive steamer. You can buy it. It's less than $100. You can also rent them, you know, for $15 or $20 a day. So if you've got tough wallpaper, maybe painted, you'd want to use the steamer.
Gotcha.
So what this does is it forces the moisture into the paper here, and you can see the steam come out, which is really moist.
And it's also adding heat too, which your roller isn't going to do.
But the pressure in here is really kind of forcing it behind there, okay? So now you see we've got our two strategies here. Now once we get the paper good and loose, we hope here, is we're going to go do some scraping. Now, let me show you a couple of different scrapers, and we'll probably have to come back to our steamer again. We'll push that.
That's fine.
Now, you know, a little thing, as long as we're looking at this thing, this hose can get hot here on the steamer, so you want to be a little careful of that. And keep it in a bucket.
Good advice. And again, I think you said something very important. This takes time. You want the moisture, the water you're putting on to do the work for you. So, you know, put the water on, go off, do something else, come back. If you need to if it's not coming off the wallpaper, go ahead and reapply.
Because most people get impatient and they start to scrape. Now, here's an example of a scraper here that has sharp edges. Okay, now this can really get into your drywall and make some gouges in it. So what I'm suggesting is that you pick up a scraper that's designed for wallpaper, and this has rounded edges. This is a blade with rounded edges, and this won't do as much gouging. Now, if you've got hard plaster, man, you can use just about anything.
Right.
In fact, you can actually use a razor scraper like this, and that would be great for plaster, but don't use that on drywall because it can gouge it.
Sure.
Okay, now let's go put a little bit more moisture on here with our steamer and see if we've waited enough. Now remember, this isn't going to come off too easy, but the problem is we just wait a little while longer.
Sure. Well, we know that this is for demonstration purposes and people doing this at home.
Now, we get in here, well, you start scraping here, and you can see how we're going to go under here. Now, you can see as soon as I get to the area where it feels a little dry is where you want to stop. Just stop, re-wet it, and man, you're on. And it's really easy to do.
And again, I think our viewers can appreciate the fact that if they're doing this at home, they need to give it time.
Well, that's the most fun part of it. You know, you wet it down, there you go.
Yeah, you do. And the other thing is, it is so rewarding because this is a big job, and it's a job that most people don't want to do.
You got it, yeah.
So, you know, the time that you spend preparing your wall, the more time you're going to have to do other things because the easier the job's going to be.
And you can save a lot of money, really. You know, this would, you know, you're going to pay a professional $15, $20 an hour to do it yourself. It's really
you and Katie have restored a lot of houses. What's the toughest wallpapering removal job you've ever had? Do you remember?
3 coats of painted wallpaper.
No.
That's it. And then really, it takes you half a day soaking it. But you know, if there's a good basketball game going on or something, you go in and soak a little bit, go watch television, come back, let it work. It's really not that bad.
You've got a great attitude. Great. Thanks so much, Gene. And please stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.